What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are all doing well. It has been a minute. My apologies. Definitely need to set up a live stream either some point this week or if you guys are around next week, Thursday night, draft night. I should be home, so if you want to do something then, just drop it in the comments. We'll take some calls because it has been way too long, so that is my bad. But a fun time to be a New York sports fan right now. You got the Knicks locking up the 2 seed, Jalen Brunson playing at an MVP level. Fun to see that. The Rangers with the 1 seed, Mets kind of just being the Mets, and the Yankees we don't really need to talk about. But a lot of buzz around the Jets right now with Aaron Rodgers showing up for voluntary workouts today. Good to see him in the building in good spirits. And then you get the new uniforms that drop, which personally I love. This should have been the rebrand from the start. I was there when they unveiled the logos for the Take Flight era, which I absolutely hated, and the 5 or 6 years that have followed really couldn't have been any worse. So glad that we're kind of turning the page there. But really, all the talk has kind of been about the draft, and all the debates are heating up as far as what the Jets should do at pick 10. And for me, at least, there's a lot of different directions that Joe Douglas can kind of go in that would fulfill the Jets' needs one way or another. I hear the talk about moving up. I don't think it's going to happen. If you can get a Joe Alt or a Marvin Harrison, I think that completely changes the equation. If you're not giving up something crazy, I just don't think that's going to be realistic. Moving up to pick 4 or 5 without mortgaging the future. So I don't think Joe Douglas is going to be in the market for either of those guys. Same thing with Neighbors, who I think is the clear number 2 receiver. But I do think moving back is a possibility. If you want to recoup a second-round pick, I personally wouldn't move too far back, nor would I get too cute, as the Jets clearly need an impact player on offense, and I think that guys are ultimately going to be there. So I do think Douglas is ultimately going to stay put. The question becomes, which direction do you go in? Do you go pass catcher, or do you go offensive line? And I'm probably going to get killed for this, but I just think offensive line is very tough when you know that the guy is not going to start. And I know that both of our starting tackles are 33 years old. They have injury history. I get that. But it very well could be an immediate need as well as a future need. But when you could also sign a Bakhtiari, Connor McGovern, or whoever else, and avoid the rookie learning curve, avoid the bust possibilities, and also add that impact player, that impact pass catcher at 10, to me, that's just a better route to go. And also, do we trust Joe Douglas? If 2 or 3 offensive linemen are off the board in the top 9, like Becton over Wirfs, unfortunately, is still fresh in my mind. So at 10, it's kind of strange recently. Like Fashanu, who was the top O lineman on a lot of boards a couple months ago, he's dropped in some more recent mocks. He's still my number 2 offensive lineman, top pass protector in the draft. Reminds me of Debrick in a sense that he might not dominate for another year or two until he adds a little bit more muscle mass. But he still competes right now. He starts right now on most teams. And I think he would probably be tough to pass up. I'm not expecting Alt to be there, so he would be my number 2. I think he would be tough to pass up. I know other people prefer Fuaga, who's the top run blocker in this draft class, according to most of the experts. But like I said, I just think that veteran offensive lineman depth, at least as far as talking about the best team for 2024, I think that makes the most sense. That way you can get your playmaker at 10. So it becomes a question more about wide receiver or Brock Bowers. And, wide receiver 2 years ago at 10, I thought made sense when you needed a true number 1. We got Garrett. Right now, I think they need somebody that ultimately takes the attention off of Garrett, which Mike Williams does to an extent. I think Lazard should be better with Rodgers back, but obviously you can't bake on that. You can still re-sign Corey Davis, but most importantly, I think wide receiver is incredibly deep from the end of round 1 through early round 3. And so considering that you don't need a true number 1, and also wide receiver is typically easier, I think, to plug and play than some other spots. Like, I would do whatever it takes to get back into round 2. I would trade my round 3 pick. If I have to, trade a future round 2 or throw in a 4, whatever's necessary, like, that's where I'm getting my wide receiver, in addition to another veteran like a Corey Davis or an Odell Beckham, who was talked about a little bit last year. That's how I'm solving my wide receiver room, and ultimately, if you do get your guy there, and the list is long, like Devontae Walker, Xavier Leggett, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Polk, Lad McConkey, Troy Franklin, I'm telling you, there's going to be 10 to 12 guys that are going into round 1, early round 3, so you kind of move up, you pick your poison, you sign your veteran, and you got to like that wide receiver room at that point. So, as far as what's best for 2024, I feel it's Brock Bowers. I don't think he's your traditional tight end. And in fact, I think that he also helps your wide receiver room, as he took almost half his snaps at Georgia from the slot. And in theory, that's where the Jets' need is at wide receiver right now, because Mike Williams, assuming he's healthy, like he's going to be on the outside on one side, Garrett Wilson's on the outside on the other. So I think he completely changes the dynamic of the Jets' offense. He's a gadget player that they don't really have. And we saw what an impact elite tight end play had on the Final Four teams last year. So, I don't want to hear about Pitts or O.J. Howard or about Hackett not using him. Like, this guy is a big-bodied wide receiver that helps you right now, as well as your tight end of the future, which is perfect when you still have a Tyler Conklin that's here for another year. So, yards after catch, contested catch ability, route running, versatility. I just think this guy is the complete package, generational tight end, and if he's sitting there at 10, that is very hard to pass up for a team that needs a weapon. So I think it makes way too much sense for the Jets. I'm hoping that's the pick. And then obviously, you kind of have your options open with what you want to do with the round 3 pick. But like I said before, moving up to go get your wide receiver, that would be my preference. If you think that you can solve those needs with the veteran and Bowers, and maybe you want to take advantage of a good offensive line class, and there's a tackle you like that's sliding in round 2, that could also be an option there. I just think Bakhtiari is inevitable. I think McGovern still makes sense, and there's a few vets that always usually sign as you get closer to camp. So as far as building the best roster to win a championship for 2024, like for me, that's Bowers round 1, that's Devontae Walker round 2, and that's veteran offensive lineman for your depth. So hope you guys enjoyed. Talk to you later.